Hi, my name is Rachel Morrison, and I am a cinematographer and director. We tend to see these things very much, in a bubble. So to be able to see, for instance, the LG OLED G5 excel at things like black levels or contrast, yeah, it was really validating and exciting. As a cinematographer, it's exciting to have a filmmaker mode where you have control, that especially to have a default that is already set to the kind of things that filmmakers and cinematographers have intended for their films, such as, the toe of the curve being a really true black, the shoulder being a white level with a nice gentle roll off, no smooth motion, which is, death to all filmmakers. But yeah, having some control in a consumer monitor is really fulfilling. One of the things that was really exciting about Black Panther and about this scene in particular is all the hand-to-hand combat. I think there's something very dynamic visually and, even emotionally about two people who are fighting physically with their bodies as opposed to with weapons from across the room, shooting at each other, etc. Here, because you're fighting not just for, to be king, but also to be representative of this beautiful country and land, it was just a really exciting chance to show all of the color in, in the wardrobe, in the environment, and I think just to keep the camera really fluid and oftentimes quite tight and close to our main characters and close to their eye lines. And the hope is that you really put the audience in their shoes and that they feel like they're fighting, alongside T'Challa. Yeah, that Wakanda is really represented in its most, beautiful light. It's so important to have detail and a richness and accuracy within the shadow of the curve. So I'm grateful for the G5 OLED for being able to really transport people, to that world. But my goal with that film, was to, for one thing, feel of a certain time period. We used a lot of old glass. I really wanted to feel like we shot on film. We tested film, and actually that was another thing that was really, I took very, as a compliment, was a lot of people thought we shot on film. We tested on film, and then we couldn't afford in the end to shoot on film, but we ended up, being able to sort of match our LUT, our camera LUT, our digital LUT to the film, and then adding grain on top. Yeah, and my hope was that it, really felt like of a period and kind of old glass. And at the same time, again, it's like the heart of it is still the emotionality and the stories and kind of a level of subjectivity that I'm really proud of. It's not just the magic hour scenes. If there's a single film as a whole that I'm very grateful for the brighter viewing quality and deeper, richer blacks of the G5 OLED, it's Mudbound. And the thing about it is that we were being really ballsy, for lack of a better word, or we took a lot of chances at the toe of the curve. We really wanted a lower level of light across the board. And what I experienced is that in projection, because we actually had a small theatrical release before we went to Netflix, when the bulbs weren't bright enough in the theaters, I felt like a complete failure. Like you need a certain level of brightness for the rich blacks and the detail, again, at the toe of the curve to really shine. So this film in particular, like I hope everybody gets to see it on a OLED G5. From my body of work, and we touched on this a little bit, but I think the film that would really benefit the most from the LG OLED TV is Mudbound. And that really is because so much of it, we were operating at the bottom of the curve. And so having a rich, dynamic black is going to make the biggest difference to that movie. I think as far as other films that I've really enjoyed that I would love to see on the LG OLED screen, there's so many. City of Lost Children, the Jeunet and Corot film, which is also, I think, it's in the tunnels. It's this fantastical underground world and also plays a lot, over the course of a night. Wong Kar-wai, kind of anything that he's done, but probably like some of his earlier collaborations with Chris Doyle, like Chungking Express is one of my favorites, but also In the Mood for Love, I think would really sing on an LG OLED G5. I'd be curious to see a black and white film, like maybe Night of the Hunter. which I know I said I don't like horror films, but that's like the one thriller that I'll make an exception for, because it is like every frame is a photograph. And I think that also really, there's such a dynamic contrast in that film between the blacks and between the highlights, that I think it would really benefit from an LG OLED screen. Maybe City of God, just because it's such a great film, and there's a dynamic energy to it. And also, it's a mix of 35 mil and 16 mil, so I think it'd be interesting to see the way the different grain structures play out. Thank you so much for having me today. It really was very special to get to see, and it's exciting to think of all the control that filmmakers are going to have, and that really just people who like art are going to have, in terms of seeing movies, television shows as the filmmakers intended, as everyone from the cinematographers to the actors to the editors intended. So turn off your smooth motion, go to Filmmaker Mode, and watch the art as it was made to be watched.